Annie, bonsoir, good evening, and welcome to our October 19th regular council meeting. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to begin the meeting by acknowledging that we are in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples in the Robinson-Huron Treaty area and wish to recognize the neighboring community of Dokis First Nation. While we meet today, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. And so with that, I need a resolution to adopt the agenda. Randy and Dean. All those in favor? Thank you. Before I get into the agenda, just a reminder that at 7 p.m. we have a meeting of, which one is it? Committee of Adjustments. So I think we'll be done this agenda. So if not, we'll just stop and then do the Committee of Adjustments. It's okay? Okay, good. All right, any disclosures of pecuniary interests? Seeing none. There are no delegations tonight. So we'll get into the reports and items for consideration. So we'll go 6.1 under general government. The clerk has her quarterly report in there. So Mel, did you want to highlight some of the stuff in your report?
In an effort just to speed things up, maybe I don't have anything major to highlight. Other than the municipal election process is well underway. Elections is on Monday. Of course, we only have an election in one ward, so the process is very quiet compared to other elections. But the voting method of internet and telephone is going very well for the ones that are participating. We do have a booth set up here for anybody who has internet issues or wants assistance. So we do have a computer set up here to help anybody who wants help. Other than that, the AMP process that we've established through the last quarter is ready to implement. And that is all I can highlight at this time.
I know that I was at the Noelville Seniors Luncheon today, and a lot of them are planning to come in person on Monday to vote.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's what.
One thing that I have noticed, if I may mention, is that because Canada Post is very strict on the civic addresses, that they no longer accept if you have an address that says RR1 or RR1 site, one box, whatever. We are receiving a lot of return mail.
Oh. So
I received a lot today, which we tried our best to get them back out to fix the address issues and to remail them today. So if you have anybody that approaches you that says that they did not receive their kit, please have them call the office so we can verify that they are on the list and that we did send off a new voting kit.
Yeah, because I've been referring a few.
Okay, because time is of the essence. We're mailing them in, but they can always, the PIN, they can come into the office and vote, or we can send it by email as well.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. 6.1.2, the welcome entrance signage project. And that's Carly, right? All right, over to you, Carly.
Thank you. So this is basically the final sign to be implemented for the entirety of the project that started back in 2019. So that's just a little background on the project. Started with the AMO Revitalization Fund. We used the $40,000 to purchase our first sign, which we had $22,000 left over, which we took out from our reserves. So to date, we are installing 2 billboard signs on the other 2 highways, on Highway 5, 28 and 64. Those are to be installed within the next 2 weeks. And we are taking out the old signs completely and putting in the new ones. And they will match the framing that we're putting around most of our signage for property and buildings also, so they'll be the same. So this one came back. So our last highway signage for the major highway on Highway 69 came back at $83,079.39, which is about $20,000 more than our previous one 2 years ago. And the funds used to pay for that sign are going to be from the sale of 37 Saint Antoine. And the remaining funds after the purchase of that sign, plus the amount that was put in budget this year for the additional signs of $30,000. Because if you remember in one of my previous reports to the ACTEV committee, we came in about half the amount that was budgeted for. So the remaining amount is going to be put into reserves to replace other signage in the future.
And the northbound sign is being placed by the trading post? Is that
Yes,
Okay.
so that's,
opposite? Yeah.
across from the highway, but yeah, you'll see the trading post as you're headed towards Sudbury, and it'll be on your right-hand side.
Good.
And that is, there's like a two-part step to the conclusions and the resolution, sorry. So the first one is to approve the signage and the purchase of the sign. And the second one would be because of MTO's policies and process, we need to pass a resolution, a separate resolution asking them for that specific location because it's not to their specs. So it's like an additional request on our permit.
Okay, are they charging us for that?
It's not anything extra, no.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. And so once that's passed, I guess now it'll go to the spring before it's,
They're gonna try to squeak it in this
Oh.
before the snow flies. So it's the same as the other one. So they're gonna be drilling into the rock
Yeah.
and then just installing. So even if they were to drill and do part of the work this year, we'll see. We'll see how it, because they are coming in from Montreal, the company that was quoted. So
okay. I think I had Dean and Randy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The sign for 69 North, pretty much similar to the one that on the other end,
identical, yeah.
same kind of sign? Good, good,
Yeah.
good. Nice size, big sign.
Yes.
Thank you.
Dean stole my question.
Any other questions with regards to the sign? So I believe we have a resolution. We have two. Okay. Do you want to read the first one? I'll get a mover and a seconder.
So the first one is be it resolved that council approves the use of a portion of the net proceeds from the sale of Transit Saint Antoine to purchase the final welcome entrance signage for installation on Highway 69 northbound lane for $83,079.39 plus HST, and that the balance of net proceeds from the sale of Transit Saint Antoine be transferred to the operating reserve for signage.
Thank you. Need a mover and a seconder?
I'll
Randy
move it.
and Rick? All those in favor? Second resolution?
The second one, be it resolved that council agrees to submit a request to the Ministry of Transportation to approve the location of the welcome entrance signage on the northbound lane of Highway 69 to be located across from the French River Training Post with the following coordinates and as shown on the figures attached. So the figures are attached to the report that
Right.
Carly presented.
Need a mover and a seconder? Dave and Dean? Any discussion on this one? All those in favor? Thank you. All right, let's move on to finances. So there's a quarterly report in your package. And I believe we have Mark. There he is. So Mark, maybe you can highlight some aspects of your report.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We sent the final tax billings in July 2022 as planned, so everything went well with the payment due dates of August 24th and September 28th. Also, we, as highlighted in the previous report, municipal property located at 37 Saint Antoine in Noelville has been sold on August 12th, 2022 for net proceeds of $98,000. For the budgets, operating budget, there's a detailed operating budget in Appendix 1 of your agenda package. In general, revenues and expenses are in line with the 2022 budget amounts. I want to highlight some items for revenues and expenses. For revenues, the increase in the bank prime during the year. So you've heard or you've seen the Bank of Canada hike their rates, and in effect, the prime rates, the bank prime rates increased also. That results in increased investment revenues or in interest revenues on our bank account. So last year we were collecting 0.55% on our bank account. Now it's 3.55. It's in relation to prime. So if prime goes up, our interest rate that we earn goes up. So we're forecasting an increase of about $68,000 of interest income in 2022 compared to budget. User fees from operation are slightly over budget by 81,000. Therefore, we anticipate surpassing our budget amount for 2022. So the user fees, they're from building permits. There's also environmental and also public works aggregate revenues that came in above budget. For revenues related to taxation, we have issued supplemental invoices totaling $53,000 as assessed by impact since January 1st. So however, interest on taxes for 2022 is forecast to fall below budget by about $20,000 because due to our collection efforts, we have less arrears, which are subject to penalties and
That's a nice
interest.
problem to have.
Yeah. For expenses, overall salaries and benefits are slightly below a year-to-date budget at 70% of budget. However, there's some payouts that are going to be paid after in quarter four, the annual volunteer firefighters payroll. So we anticipate being on or close to budget for salaries. A little comment on fuel costs. There's fuel for our vehicles and equipment, and also for furnace oil. It's having an impact on our budget. The increases year-to-date fuel costs for public works and furnace oil is it's about approximately $214,000 this year, which is an increase of $59,000 or 38%. As compared to previous year. So it's we're not immune to the increases that you see on the pumps. Any questions or comments on the operating budget?
Have Randy?
Through you, Madam Mayor, this question isn't really for Mark. It's for Mark or for Robert. It's kind of an operational question that came through with this question about the increased cost of furnace oil. Furnace oil being a dirty fuel or a very expensive fuel at this point. The cost of diesel refinement is going up, and home heating oil. And also with a higher insurance cost related to heating with furnace oil. The first part of my question is how many buildings and what are we operating with the furnace oil? And perhaps we should consider moving to propane on some of these buildings for an environmental impact, or supplementing with solar power and backup battery to augment environmental impact from burning furnace oil.
Go ahead, Bob.
So we've changed the furnace at Public Works 2 years ago to propane. The plan is to change the Alvin Community Center to propane once the renovation starts. And the fire hall in Noelville is the next one to be changed. So we are planning to change all our buildings to propane at some point.
If I recall, the landfill is also propane, eh? Or has it been changed?
Correct.
So it's just the last two buildings, and we're in the process of swapping out of that furnace oil cycle then.
Well, we'll still have the arena to change at some point. That one's going to be more of a challenge.
Okay, thank you. It's just something worthwhile looking at, getting those last buildings off, of course. So, thank you.
Other questions, financial questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move to Public Works and Environmental Services. So the quarterly report for Public Works, Bob come back. Oh, there he is.
Yes, good evening. So some of the key highlights, we've completed the Capital Roads project for this year. The ditching was completed. The brushing operations were completed. We spent a lot of time removing giant hogweed, and especially in the Alban area. We received a new grader, and we were now in the process of doing some repairs on our existing grader, the John Deere one. And we also have to do some major repairs on truck 2. If you have any questions.
Yep. Dean.
Just a comment, Bob. I've had some very good comments from people off Hass Road about the road there. They're just delighted with how it was done and what it looks like, and can hardly wait to see the hard surfacing. So just a bit of a compliment to Public Works on that road. I actually drove it myself, and it really looks great too.
Okay, I'll pass that on to the contractor.
Well, somebody's supervising them and making it.
Yes,
being
we
done
are.
right.
Yes, we are. Thank you.
Any other questions for Bob? Let's move on then to the quarterly report, environmental services. So Kevin, is Kevin there? Oh, there he is.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, just some of the highlights. We held our fall hazardous waste day event. We had our summer monitoring program for our wells we do every summer. We hired our new landfill part-time employee, Mo Lalone. He's working out great. So we also had, as you all know, the garbage trucks broke down, so we had to close transfer sites for a day. And we also held the EAC meeting on the 28th. And just let everyone know, we're still sitting at 40% participation rate for our curbside.
So it's still only at 40, right?
Yes.
Okay. I also saw the new signs that MTO put up yesterday for waste, big waste management, well, whatever, I can't remember what it says, but to show where to go to get to the landfill.
Yeah.
Like-
Yes. Correct. Yeah. It says waste facility, I believe there.
Yeah, waste
Yeah.
facility. That's exactly right. Yeah. I can even see them from afar. So that's big. Randy?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I just think it's worth pointing out to the public watching that the recycling tonnage is up, though, and the percentage of contaminated is falling by 3% here in the last quarter. So we are getting better results from the curbside recycling program, that we are taking in more recycling, and it is in slightly cleaner shape. So great work to the public. They're all, people are getting on board with our program, and I can't wait to see hopefully a future expansion of this. Thank you.
Other comments? Seeing none, we have a resolution to award the contract for wood grinding services at the landfill site. Madam Clerk. Dee, and seconded by Dave.
It is duly moved and seconded that council awards the contract for wood grinding services at the Nova landfill site to Northern Environmental Application Technologies, Inc. for the amount of $17,800 plus applicable taxes.
Thank you. Questions? Randy?
Just a comment, why don't we just harness those beavers we've been capturing and dispatching to fetch this lumber to save some money? Wouldn't that be great? I'm just
That would
kidding.
be great. Yeah, I had a beaver at my place, so. All those in favor? Thank you. All right, we'll move on to recreation and community services. So the quarterly report for Parks, Recreation and Facilities, Bob.
Okay. Yes, so some of the key highlights that we had this quarter was the musical equipment was installed at the splash pad. We received the sound equipment for JC Park and other events. We held the ball tournament for the first time since 2019. We've met with the engineers for the ACC project. And the scheduled activities are still ongoing at the Alban Community Center.
So Bob, so the process now for the ACC, now that we have the engineer, so now the architect has to do the plans for it. Is that how it works?
Yes, actually, I just received something tonight from them. We have to review it, and then it'll go out for tender shortly.
Okay, and
So
then
we're
after the
hope-
tender, with the tender process, it'll give deadlines as to what's going to be accomplished when and by when
Correct.
approximately?
We're hoping to start early in the new year.
Oh, good, 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 good. Any questions for Parks and Recreation? And we don't have a resolution there. Okay. Let's move on to Emergency and Protection Services. We have the quarterly report for Fire Department. So Buck, there he is.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just going to go through the highlights of the fire department quarterly report. Emergency, last quarter, we responded to 31 incidents. The increase was in motor vehicles. So a total of 68 calls total this year. Burn permits was 15 sold last quarter for a total of 61 this year. Inspection, we had 4 inspections this quarter. A total of 18 this year. Training, we had 9 trainings for a total of 28. Equipment check, we had 6 and to a total of 14. Agreements, we assisted Henvey Inlet with a bushfire for personnel support, just manpower for fighting the fire, but nothing major after that. Recruitment and retention, we had 1 firefighter at Station 1 in Nuevo. Updates, fire department participated in our second 3-day mobile live fire training unit provided by the Ontario Fire Marshal at Fire College. So day 1, Friday, we had 16 firefighters participate, a total of 4 hours. Day 2, Saturday, was 14 firefighters participated in 8 hours. And day 3, Sunday, 13 firefighters participated in 3 hours. Any questions?
Any questions? So that training, Arak, is for their provincial certification, right? To go towards the provincial certification, or it's training because that's the right thing to do with our firefighters?
Well, it's the right thing to do, but it's a steps towards being certified.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let's move on to Bylaw Services Department, and Andrea is not here, right? So if you have any questions with regards to bylaw or, yeah. So Bylaw Services, Andrea or Kevin? Okay, so this one is Kevin.
Bylaw is Kevin.
Yeah.
Building Control Department is
Oh,
Andrea.
that's the one. Okay, Kevin. Oh, there he is.
Thank you. Through you,
Come
Madam
back.
Mayor. Yeah, I'm back. The waste transfer sites are being monitored now under the new waste management bylaw. So the 2-bag limit and no commercial use with discretion. We're trying to, unless somebody's being violating it really bad, then like they'll just get a warning. So the traffic bylaw should be coming to council in the new year for the new council. And our AMPS is up and running, and we're going to be using it when it's appropriate. So as for training, Officer Merrifield attended the MLEOA seminar this year in Kingston. So that's pretty much all for this quarter.
Any questions for Kevin? Rick, I keep glancing at you, but I don't see you moving, so I'm assuming you don't have any questions?
Oh, I'm good. I'm
good.
listening.
Okay. I'm listening. Good. All right, building planning and development and building control. This is where Andrea is not here, so any questions, you can direct your comments to Andrea. And then, but we do have for your information, a draft parkland dedication bylaw, and that was prepared by Mel.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'll go in more detail for this report. So as municipalities provide a variety of services to its residents, including parks and recreation services, through the Planning Act, it provides an opportunity for municipalities to fund these services as our community grows, especially since our community grows, by giving authority to municipalities to either acquire land or cash equal to the value of the land, specifically for public parks or other public recreational purposes as a condition of development. So development meaning plans of subdivision or consents, so new lot creations. under sections of the Planning Act as part of the municipal process for land development and redevelopment, such as applications for consent and applications for subdivisions, municipalities can require developers to either contribute land for parks and or cash in lieu of parkland where there is limited opportunity to provide suitable land for parkland. So let's say there's a plan of subdivision where council would deem it appropriate to acquire a piece of land for a park. And if not, then it goes through our policy that I'm presenting. To be able to apply these provisions under the Act, the municipality has to adopt a bylaw, to adopt the policies and procedures to acquire land or cash. Currently, the municipality applies its authority under a policy approved by resolution and a bylaw that was adopted in 2005 that is very vague. They are both attached to my report for your reference. The existing policy and bylaw have been reviewed to improve its applicability while maintaining the municipality's current rationale of providing a balance between encouraging development without undue hardship for the owners or the developers, but at the same time obtaining cash in lieu dedications to grow the fund for parks and recreational purposes. The proposed policy would acquire cash in lieu of a conveyance of land. So instead of receiving land, applicable to new lots being created through plans of subdivision. So let's say a subdivider would subdivide 5 lots, then our policy would apply a certain amount of cash per lot when it's not appropriate to acquire the land and consents. So I'm presenting council with a simplified process in what we're doing now. Through my research and review, I have not found any policy or bylaw that is even similar to what we're doing now. Owners and so right now, so what I'm proposing is that owners or developers would contribute $1,500 per new lot created instead of having to. So right now, the applicant is required to have an appraisal done on their property, and our policy has very different variables of value, or depending if it's waterfront or if it's rural, or so it's very hard to administer for staff and for developers to know on what to expect when they're developing, especially with the influx of development that we've seen for small subdivisions. It's been consents. So there's been many lots created and it's been very difficult to administer. Our current policy has been very hard to administer. So the funds that are obtained through parkland dedication are required to be held in a separate fund. So we have a separate reserve fund for all the parkland dedication. And so for example, for parkland, it's used for either park facilities or recreational facilities such as our beach, our wharfs, our ball fields, boat launches, trails, playgrounds, community centers, things like that. At the end of 2021, the fund's balance was approximately $95,000. Annual contributions fluctuate greatly through the years. For example, in 2021, we had a total of $14,000 in contribution, while in 2018, we had $1,000 contribution. So this report is to address the policy. Our treasurer is going to present a report on more detail about the contributions and what type of withdrawals that we've had throughout the years. And that's going to be done within the budget process. So at this time, the report and bylaw is presented to you for your review, for your comments. I would be presenting the bylaw to be adopted at our next meeting, which is November 2nd.
Okay, so the bylaw is going to come with this council?
Yes.
Okay, November 2nd?
Mhm.
Okay.
So it gives kind of a little more time to review and for any public to have any comments or.
Yeah. Dean?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I probably am not going to get Melanie to deliver me any coffee anymore when I get done with what I'm going to say. I really dislike this bylaw. I've liked it right from the get-go because there's so much unfairness in it. As a matter of history, parkland dedication was really meant for large developments in the cities to be sure that there was some land put aside for parks. Here we live in a park. I mean, we don't have to put land aside for parks. Crown land is everywhere here. So that's one point that I would make. The other point that I would make is it's highly unfair because when we do parkland dedication on a percentage of the value of the property, the values of property change drastically depending on where it is. If it's a piece of useless farmland or bush, you don't pay very much in a parkland dedication. If you've got a lot on the waterfront, then it gets altogether different what that parkland dedication fee is. And I don't think it's fair to do it that way. I think if we're going to have something like that, it should be applicable to everyone on the same basis. If it's a developer doing this, it's no problem because he just passes the cost along when he sells the lots. They just go with. But if it's a private landowner who's taking a piece of his land to give to his son or daughter or something, it can be an onerous amount of money to have to cough up for that lot, and especially if it's waterfront property compared to a property that's not waterfront. In every respect, this is an unfair way to do it. Finally, my last comment will be this, that if we need money for parks and recreation in the municipality, let's tax everybody equally. Let's put it on the tax bill. I mean, let's not pick individuals and say, you're going to make a nice big contribution to parks and recreation. That's all. I'm done with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Randy?
To you, Madam Mayor, my question would be, Melanie, who makes the decision on whether you pay cash or donate land? So a developer developing, say, a 40 lot subdivision, the property, the larger the lot, the more money he's going to make, and giving the $1,500 then is more in his favor. And then we don't develop a park space for those 40 families moving in. So is it the municipality making the decision over the cash versus land, or is it the developer making that option? And how do we determine the value as a municipality, which way to go?
Through Madam Mayor, that's a great question. So when it's a subdivision agreement or a plan of subdivision, the decision is council's. So council decides, so staff is going to look at the location of the subdivision. Dean had a very great point. We live in a parkland. So most of our subdivisions that have been developed so far, we have never taken land. Well, I don't want to say never. In the past, let's say in the 60s and 70s, I think in the 80s, some lots have been taken or have been contributed. But those lands or those parcels have never been developed as a park. They were kept on the municipality's inventory and later sold. So it would be council's decision on whether we take cash or we take land. And the value, when it's a plan of subdivision, council would still have the decision on taking either an amount per lot, and that can be a decision you kind of counter. Okay, well, if it's 6 lot, then it means this much money. But if we would take a percentage of the value of the land, it would be this much. It would be council's decision.
Any other comments? Sorry, losing my voice. Rick, just checking with Rick down there.
Yeah, I'm good.
You're good? All right.
I'm good.
Okay, so that'll become, oh, no.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to your comments, Dean, are you looking more at staying similar to the policy that we have now? Like, or that you wouldn't want a policy at all, that you wouldn't want the municipality to have any contributions to the park fund?
If I had it my way, we'd do away with this parkland dedication fee here and look at raising our funds for parks and recreation purposes on a tax basis or find alternatives. If we could find a fairer way of doing this, so that certain individuals with their property and making a lot didn't seem to pay a disproportionate amount of a fee to do this compared to other individuals. Or if we take it even further, all the individuals who are not dividing any property or not making any lots, and I'm talking about individuals, I don't really have any problem with the developers who are doing a development, a subdivision, because then costs of those things just get passed along to the purchaser on a one-time basis. But the rest of it, for individuals who are doing it, I'm just simply opposed to it on the grounds that I've already made. But I don't know whether there's anything, as I looked at this too, and I looked at the 40,000 and then 5% if it's less than 40, but if the property is worth more, then they got to get an appraisal, official appraisal, pay for that also. And it just becomes all the more unfair. And because that usually is waterfront property. That's where the higher values come in this municipality for property. So I'm not sure, but we can talk about it some more. I mean, if it comes back to council, this council or the next council, we can have more discussion on it and see if there are any alternatives that would be fairer to everyone. I'm not, I guess that the idea of it, the way it works now is I paid it one time.
I know.
And I was mad when I was paying it because it was waterfront property and I was making a lot to give to my daughter, so.
So there is a way, so I'm proposing like a set fee, a set contribution per new lot created. If council wishes to stay with the appraisal portion, but not have the less than 40,000 or less than waterfront, it doesn't matter, you have that your property is valued. So the value would determine if it's waterfront or if it's rural or if it's on a side road or on the main highway, the value would be different. So the value of a waterfront property would be higher. So council can still stay with having the developer or the owner having to have an appraisal or having to have a real estate appraisal instead of having the set fee. And that's why I tried to have a set fee that was so I looked at all the prior contributions to look at, for example, when you had contributed or other people had contributed large amounts or even larger amounts or even smaller amounts, looking at the average of those contributions per lot and looking at the acreage that they were developing or the values that they were given. Sometimes I see an unfairness in the values being done. So it's been hard to administer because of that, I find. Having difficulty for the owners, so prime example for a father developing a lot for their son, let's say, having issues finding a real estate agent to do the appraisal in the correct way and not having it, because you need to value it as raw land prior to being developed. They can't value it as a lot already created. They have to value that area as it exists now. Kind of, I don't know if you understand.
And as
if
a
I'm clear.
whole, and then just try to
But
take
just the
a
amount.
percentage
yeah.
of it based on the size of
Because
the
the
lot.
value, so let's say they create a part one, well, that part one has a higher value once it's created and once it sits alone than as if it's just, so prior to it being created, let's say. So if there's, and this is why we're bringing it as a draft, I prepared a very simplified policy. If there's any comments, ideas on how to create more fairness, or we're open to that.
Question or statement, I guess.
Oh, there you go. Go ahead, Richard.
Just on the appraisal thing, I mean, when you're asking for an appraisal, either it's done by an appraiser or real estate as a letter of however they call it there. It's kind of hard to have an accurate amount when there's not very many to compare against. So those reports might be very subjective. So just having a flat fee might be a better idea than asking for appraisal values. That's just my opinion.
Randy?
Yeah, and a flat fee may be based on the different types of property too. I mean, the waterfront should be a higher flat fee than perhaps rural farmland. But to Dean's point or question, or to sort of counter what Dean has said, you know, although your family member is paying that, you're paying that fee on behalf of your family member, that property still increases in value. And when they resell it, they're already so far ahead anyways. And I mean, especially COVID with exploding the price of residential properties here, you don't really lose the money. Your daughter will make it back in the end, so.
And just to clarify what I said earlier, flat fee, yes, of course, based on categories. So different fee for different areas would apply.
Mark, did you have your hand? No? Okay. Wasn't sure if I was seeing things. Okay. All right. Okay, so that'll go to November 2nd. Right? Or maybe to the new council. I mean, is
So-
there a rush to get this done?
No, there's no
Okay.
rush.
Okay.
I suggest you go next. I suggest you do it next year. You'll have two new people that
Mhm.
that can discuss this and for
No, I mean,
not to pass the buck, but seriously though, I mean, if there's going to be some discussions, and we've just had a few discussions in a matter of five or 6 minutes, and they're all good discussions. I think you should have them in more details and push that to January, February.
and also it gives council time to kind of live it and to have comments or any suggestions on how to simplify it more or.
Also gives time for reflection to think
Absolutely.
about it.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, if there's no urgency for it, then I don't see why it needs to come really quickly, and perhaps look at some of the options that were suggested, flat fee.
And at least the new council is all here pretty much to
Yeah.
consider it for the
Yeah.
incoming. So the new folks can think about it and mull it
Yeah.
over.
Okay. Feel like the government downloading onto the new people. All right, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
They get paid the big bucks.
You're right. Oh, you're the comedian over there. So there are no pieces of correspondence, Madam Clerk? No. So I need a resolution to adopt the items contained in the consent agenda, moved by Dave and seconded by Dean. All those in favor? Thank you. Sorry. I lost part of my, can I have the agenda? Been having trouble with my printer. It doesn't print everything. Thought I had it. Oh, I do have it. Sorry. Okay, there are no notices of motion? No. Announcement and inquiries. I'll start with Rick, who just came back from Greece. So welcome back, Rick.
Thank you.
Still a little jet lag?
Very. Very. Yep. I have nothing really to say. I'll the next meeting will be my last, so I'll give my last hurrah then. So I'm
Okay,
good for now.
well, look forward to it. Randy?
Same for me, nothing new really.
All
Thanks.
right. Dean?
Usually I don't have much of anything to say, although there may be some people disagree with that. I just want to make this comment. I think the fall colors this year have been absolutely outstanding. More intense, more longer and more beautiful than I can remember in all my years here. I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but it's just been, we've gone out just to drive to see them. It's so beautiful. And I know the peak is gone now, the leaves are coming down, but boy, a week ago there, it was just absolutely stunning to drive our roads. And so that's all I'm going to say.
Dave?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
All right, I do just a couple things. Had a meeting with the library yesterday and everything seems to be working really well at the library. They're on budget. The programming for children and adults alike is absolutely amazing. Big change in there. Numbers at the Noelville site or library here, they're up substantially. Fortunately, the Albin site, though it maintained a little bit, the numbers are very, very low, extremely low. So, and most of the usage there is people sitting outside accessing Wi-Fi. So, but walk-ins are in the last 2 months or 3 months was down to about 60 in 3 months. So that's not very many people. So the library will be looking at that in the new year because, oh, and that's what I forgot to give you. I have all the nominations for the library board. So I'll give them to you tomorrow. Okay. And yesterday, thanks to the Trading Post, the food bank received an enormous donation of their foods, their leftover hamburgers, buns galore, ice cream, a lot of ice cream, hamburgers, French, yeah, hash browns, onion rings. I think I saw some of those. And so the other thing too is our rapids came to help us unload because their muscles are far more better than ours. And with the amount of food that was coming in, their help was greatly appreciated. And they did take some of the ice cream because it comes in those big things. Yeah, so we can't really distribute that at the food bank. So some of our rapids, to thank them, they took the bubble gum one and the tiger, whatever, the orange black one that they love. Yeah, for the next game is right. But also today, and just to let you know, Roger, I went to the seniors luncheon here in Wellville and I brought them a gallon of ice cream and they were extremely appreciative. So tomorrow is Food Bank Day. And so for the first time in a little while, we'll be giving out some meat and other stuff and dessert. Yeah. And Roger, when it comes time for the public, I'll let you talk about our meeting with Britt, if you don't mind. Not that I'm putting you on the spot, but I am. Okay. Aside from that, it's been extremely busy, but good. It feels like COVID never happened because everybody's having meetings. And it's the holiday train is coming on November 30th in Rudder in Albin. And I forget the name of the two artists, but they're supposed to be very good. So it's kind of nice to see. So, and then there will be a volunteer appreciation night where on December 14th, where we honor all the volunteers, especially the ones like in the last 2 years, because we haven't celebrated them and there's been so many. So we're not going to have individual prizes, but just a general honoring of all of them over at the ACC. So, Randy? Nope, no need for nominations. Everybody's a hero.
Maybe next year I can qualify.
If you volunteer and put up that ice rink there
Yeah.
and all that stuff there, Randy.
That's what I was saying. As a member of council, we can't get volunteer awards.
No,
No, I was going to ask about the readership in Albin and the numbers being down. I know some of that's cyclical because of seasonal residents, but is it perhaps a material in the library just isn't up to the newest standards, or what do you feel we can do as the chair of the board to maybe drive a little more
Yeah.
readership or flow into the building, or is it time to consider a consolidated single library?
well, those are all very good comments and questions. And I think that's what it's not because of the material, because the material is up to date. So, so that's not a problem. I mean, I'm not sure what the answer is. And I know that the library is setting up a strategic planning or has set up a strategic plan committee to look at that. And everything's on the table when you look at strategic planning, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Dean?
Just thought maybe it would be a good idea when they get their planning a little bit underway, if we ask them to come to a council meeting and make a bit of a presentation on what their issues are, what their problems are, what they see as solutions, and how we as council might be able to help the library.
That would be terrific. And I think there are plans to come to council when they're ready, when they've identified the problems and are looking at where they would like to go and how that could happen. But there's still a lot of work to do, and there will be some new members of the library board. So just like council, not that we're downloading, but it's some of those decisions are going to be made in the new year. And so I'll turn to the public. I'll start with you, Roger, since I sort of pointed you out.
Last Sunday, our mayor and myself, we had a meeting with the Brit Community Church Food Bank. They had nothing basically but bad news to give us. Through fraud or theft, their bank account was cleaned out down to zero, basically. They lost approximately $50,000. Now they're in a position where they don't have enough food to supply their people, their food bank. They're very limited. 2 weeks ago, I went there with some of our extras to help them out a bit, but it wasn't nearly enough. So we have formed sort of a partnership between Brit and Perry Sound and Brit and French River. So we are sort of on a trading basis. If they get supplies that we don't have, they'll pass them on to us, or vice versa, with us to them. But they're not in a good situation. We're going to look into again this month, after we give out our food, see what we have left and see in which way we can help them out. It's a sad situation that basically one person can bring a whole food bank down to nothing. You know, compared to last year or year and a half, while their food bank was open, they helped us immensely. I don't know how many trips I made to Brit with my car and with volunteers, and we came back fully loaded. Especially around Christmas last year, I think I made about 7 trips. But this year, you know, the tables have turned. We have to help them out the best way we can. I think that's about all I can say.
What was nice though on Sunday was that, so Roger did go last week to give them some of the excess cannons that we had, but they had a donor or something, they got some meat. And because they had an excess of that, then we left with wieners and sausage or whatever it was.
From what I saw, it wasn't really in excess.
So they just gave it to us?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's sort of a trade for trade.
Yeah.
They still think of us as, you know, last year we were the underdog basically, and they were the big dog, and this year it just turned around. But no, they gave us what they could. I didn't expect anything, but
No.
it came across anyway.
Yeah.
You know, we got lots of bacon and wieners and sausage rounds and, you know, whatever they could spare.
Yeah.
But you know, after our food bank tomorrow, we're gonna sit down and look and see what we have, and we'll help them out.
And aside from all this adversity too, they're getting their act back together. So the transport trucks, looking into getting more transport trucks in of food, and see what with the partnership, how they can help us and how we can help them.
Yeah.
So it's coming around.
It's coming around. They're doing good. They're,
Yeah.
you know, it seems they're all happy and, you know, looking forward to the future. But right now, it's for them, as far as the, I call them clients, it's very dim for them because they don't get nearly as much what they used to.
Yeah.
And also, speaking about the French River Food Bank, our numbers are going up drastically. But fortunately, we're in a position that we can, you know, help out and keep up with our donors and with the DSAB, and we've been doing good. I remember when I first started there about 2 years ago, I think our numbers were around 90 people, if I remember right, 75, 80.
About 20 to 25 families. we're
Yeah,
serving
and
per
now we're up to about 65 families. Our numbers are changing especially in the seniors. Due to their fixed income, they can't keep up with the rising prices. So, and again, I don't know what we're gonna have tomorrow, but last month we were in for quite a big surprise when we, at the last minute, we had to rush and make some boxes. Normally, we had some extras, but our numbers went up something like about 11 or 12 families just in 1 month. So tomorrow we could be in for another big surprise.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate to hear that they've been a victim of fraud or theft. It seems to be a growing concern lately. In the last, I've seen a lot of stories on Facebook. Certain groups and people have been targets of that sort of activity. But I haven't heard about this story on Facebook. Has the group not put together a bit of a press release asking for help?
Well,
I think going out to the public and asking for donations and help in lieu of, because of the lack of funds and ability to help themselves is certainly something that they could do. We could perhaps do a food drive here. Yeah, I mean, we've been fully supported by the council and the province and other such groups, but we haven't actually gone out to the public and asked for that help.
I don't believe they put out a press release. I know we received emails from them just to make us aware that we didn't fall prey to the same person. But I don't believe they have done anything.
They did have stuff on Facebook.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't
If
get
you
it.
look at, I think they're under Brit Community Food Bank or something like that. So the story is out there. One of the things we're going to help them with too is put them in touch with because they're unorganized, but their DSAB is Perry Sound. And so they should be getting assistance
Right.
from their DSAB. So we'll assist them there. At the end of the day, I think it'll be win-win for all of us.
I think a public food drive for both entities would be something that would help bring in.
Well, there's going to be
get
a
us through the Christmas year.
Yeah, so Randy, you should know that now that the Christmas train is coming, there's a food drive for our Christmas baskets. And
Right.
usually Dennis Prevost in charge of that. And last year we served 99 or 101 families.
Last year was 105.
105.
Yeah.
So anyway, but perhaps later on. Yeah. So everything's open. Thank you, Roger. Anybody else from the audience have anything to comment? Say? Sure, you have to go to the microphone.
Oh, there, okay. When you were talking about the sign, I'm just wondering, did you think to put Monetville on it? The signage, the post like that you're doing on the highway?
The signage is to advertise the municipality of French River.
Okay, but I
So
know
there's
that they've
no-
got Verner, I think they've got, or Levine, but I've never seen Monetville on the signs on the highway.
So this is a decorative sign, similar
Oh,
to the
strictly.
one that's coming southbound. So
Okay.
it's a decorative sign to announce that you're entering the municipality of French
Okay.
River.
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
And I have another question. As far as considering propane, is there any possibility of going geothermic in order to avoid any of the, like non-replaceable.
Certainly, I
fuels.
personally am open to all options. I think that we have to look at those considerations. And I was just pointing out that the furnace oil is perhaps one of the dirtier fuels and perhaps the more expensive at this point, and that alternatives should be found. Propane is readily available, and I think the cost is why they've decided to go that way. But absolutely, I've been advocating for solar and battery storage for a number of years here. As the price of those products come down and the price of overnight electricity is less, it makes more sense to purchase off-price energy and store it in batteries and use it during the day. During the budget process, I bring those things up and we discuss them, but it's just worth the bit of the background because I had seen that furnace oil was still involved and I wasn't aware of that before this point. So I just wanted clarification to which buildings and what our plan was going forward. But I certainly agree that anything that is cost effective and saves money for the municipality and the residents in the long run is certainly what we should look at.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I need a resolution to adopt the confirmation bylaw. Dave and Dean, all those in favor? Thank you. And I need a resolution to adjourn. Rick and Dean? No, we have another meeting. All those in favor? All right, thank you very much. Rick, stay on because we have, okay? Yeah.